Hey guys, thank you for taking the time. Just wanted to get overall thoughts on this one. Obviously tough to fall this way after getting some chances late there.
Yeah, I think before heading into this game, we talked about it's going to be a tough one. We've just come off a win against Kansas City and trying to keep that mentality and momentum going. We knew we had to win first and second balls and be aggressive today, and I think we lacked that a little bit. And that's just something we have to stick to the game plan with and, be aggressive and see out a game like that. So we'll have to go back to film and look at that and, prepare for the next game. It's a quick turnaround.
And to that point, obviously it's a quick turnaround and you've just come off the field, but looked like there was some disconnect, not as much finding feet in this one. Do either of you have any thought to why that might have happened? Was it the way Houston played or just maybe not as much connection between you guys in this one?
Yeah, I feel like we lacked a little bit of chemistry today, just not on the same page. It happens in this game, and, you go down 1-0 and you have a lot of momentum. It becomes chaos, so you got to find a little calmness in those moments, and I think we need to do better. We have a younger team this year, so making sure the veterans are able to, step up into those moments and make sure we see out a game. We had 10 minutes left, and we're already, stretching the game, and I think we can play a little bit more and have better opportunities in the final third.
You mentioned opportunities in the final third. Sort of, you got several good chances there at the end, but until that point, felt like the offense was kind of struggling to get clear opportunities or chances where Houston's defense didn't have a ton of numbers back. Just what would you say contributed to that?
Yeah, I think we have to show a lot of respect to Houston. I thought they had a good game today. I think collectively as a group, we know we weren't at the races and we weren't good enough all round, both in and out of possession. Why that is, we need to figure that out ourselves internally and work on that. And I think, we're not creating the chances that we'd like for our forwards to have. That's on us as midfielders and defenders behind to, make better service for them to finish the chances. But, this is just a blip in one game. We've had a few good runner games and we've had really good positive performances up till now. So it's a blip and we just can't take too much from it and learn from our mistakes today and be better for Friday.
It did feel after Houston scored a little bit like some of the games last season where you guys would concede and then sort of struggle to get back into the game or just maybe be down a bit on yourselves. Did it feel at all like that? And how do you come back next week and make sure, you don't sort of get down if you go down a goal or something like that?
Yeah, I'd actually think this year that we've done pretty good after conceding and getting back into those first 5 minutes after a goal. We conceded a little bit later this game, and, when you have a lot of momentum or, it's just really transitional, it's hard to get control of the game. And like I said, I think that comes onto the experienced players to help that and see that through. But at the end of the day, when situations come like that, it's just a grind, right? You need to win first and second balls, which was a game plan today. We knew with Houston it was going to be a battle, and I think love to look back on the stats and see how that looked, but I think we could have won a little bit more first and second and been a little bit more aggressive and proactive in those moments. And just keeping momentum in moments like that does really help, and it would turn a game. So as we continue to move forward, we got to look in those moments.
All right, we'll take Jada and then Nico over here.
Thanks for taking the time. For either of y'all, what was maybe the conversation that you were having at halftime, especially when you have a tight first half? What were you maybe trying to communicate with each other at the half?
Yeah, I think at halftime it was about concentrating on ourselves and us as a group, and if we were to deliver the game plan and up our game, we would have won the game, and we didn't do that. So that was the black and white of the situation. We came in and we weren't happy with the first half, but we were still in the game. It was still 0-0 at the time, and we knew if we'd have upped our game that, being at home in front of our fans with them behind us, it would have made a difference. But we weren't at the races today, and, we're the first to admit that as a group. And, and all we can do now is look forward, look ahead, and make sure we put it right for the next game.
And then it's important to have, good substitutions, game-changing kind of moves when you get from a player off the bench. Can you talk a little bit about like Emery and Maddie and the shots that they were able to at least get for you guys?
Yeah, I think that's the key word, game changers. I think we have a really strong squad this year, and everyone is competing for a starting place, and we have players on the bench who are ready to come on and make a difference. And I thought Emery was great, especially Emery when she came on today. She picked up really nice pockets and had a few nice shots on target too. So yeah, everyone is preparing every week to play whatever minutes they have, and I think as a group we are in a strong place, and it's just about, you know, making them find margins and turning them in our favour. And it will come. We're a good group, and we analyse ourselves and we look within first, and we'll make sure that, you know, as a group, the whole squad will be back in a better place by next week.
Okay, we'll take Nico and then Jeff.
After the Houston goal, saw that the whole team huddle up, was having a bit of a team talk. What were like the overall mindsets of all the players, and what was like the main message to bounce back into the game while in that huddle?
I think like I touched on before, it gets chaotic in those moments, and obviously it takes a little bit of wind out of our sails when you go down, but it was just to focus on ourselves again, focus on the game plan and make sure we execute that, and just to put our heads down, work hard, grind for each other, and just push through. Like, we needed to chase the game. We needed to get a goal today to get a point. So, yeah, I think we just kind of huddled up to regroup and to make sure we refocused to move forward in those last couple minutes.
And as far as responses from going down, there's of course a good contrast compared to last season. So what would you, if there are any positives to take from today's match, what would be the positives to take into the next games to bounce back?
Yeah, I think this year especially, we're a team that does bounce back. We've gone a goal down and we've turned games around, and maybe that wasn't within the group last year. We didn't have that mentality and that drive to change games when things weren't going our way. We have that this year in abundance, and you know, we've gone a goal down a few times and we've come back, and it wasn't there today, but we know and we believe within the group that if we go a goal down, we'll get one right back. And like I mentioned, it wasn't there today. The whole group we were a bit off and we were a bit flat, and we weren't where we expect ourselves to be, but we will learn from it.
As we saw you going forward a bit more today, over the last several matches, there's been a lot with the partnership with you and Sam and playing a bit more with Lynn. Is that just a natural progression of you guys playing a number of matches together, or was that just how the game presented to itself? Because you've normally played more of a defensive role. Today, we saw you really getting forward a bunch.
Yeah, firstly, I think... What are you laughing at?
You go, honey.
Firstly, I really enjoy my partnership with Sammy. I think we complement each other quite well, and I know if it gives me that freedom to get forward, because I know Sammy will be right behind me and vice versa. I think today it was just what the game presented. It was a bit more of our game plans to push one of us a little bit higher, and predominantly it happened to be me. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it at the minute with Sammy. I think she's having a great season so far, and a partnership takes time to build, and we're definitely building one.
All right, we'll go here to Charles and then Bella and then Jada.
Obviously, of course, not the result, but what was it like for you both to have your mothers in attendance for this one? I know, Lou, you've mentioned having your mom in attendance for matches before, but I'm sure this may be a little more special. Just if you could both recollect a little bit about what the last few days have been like. I know the Rain posted the video of, you know, you meeting your mom at the airport.
Well, our mums are best friends now.
My mom came down. I sat with Hazard's mom all game.
No, it's so nice to have our mums here. You know, I don't get to see mine as much as I'd like, so for the Rain to give us the opportunity to all fly our mums over, it was really special when we heard the news. And yeah, it's been really nice. You know, we as a group with each other all the time, but to have all of our mums here at the same game, you know, having the experience too has been really nice for them. And yeah, I'd like to dedicate the game today to all the mums and grandparents who are here, and you know, you're all amazing people, and we all can't thank you enough for everything that you do, so thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just special moments like this, right? They come to a lot of games, but they've got to do a lot of in-game, on-field stuff. My mom and Lynn's mom were on a panel today, so just like being able to be part of it was a little bit different, and I think that made it really special. Like, we're driving to the game. My mom's like, I'm a little nervous for the panel. I'm like, it's okay, I'm a little nervous for the game. Like, we're good. So yeah, just being able to share that experience was really special today. And to honestly, like for me, get to meet other mothers as well, like is super special. I think I really invest in people on this team. So to be able to also see their moms and have that connection really just makes a difference. It's pretty cool.
Well, that would have been a very nice note to end on. Unfortunately, I have another question. And obviously, again, not the result. But for you, you've been particularly impactful for this team this year. You've been putting in some of your best performances and just looked really comfortable on the field in particular. I'm just wondering sort of what, if anything, changed for you this season, or whether you feel like nothing particularly changed and maybe you're just getting ready for the Euros. What does that feel like for you?
Yeah, I think this is the hardest league in the world. For me to come over here and transition, it was always going to take some time. Maybe I didn't realise how much time that would take, and I reflected a lot in the off season. I always look within first, and I always thought last season I could have done better in performances, and my performances weren't where I'd quite like them to be. I worked hard in the off season and made sure I came back a better player. So it's a little bit of that. I just think it takes time to adapt in this league. It's very different to what I've known in the WSL before, and it is the hardest league in the world. So I'm up against the best players, and I had to up my game, had to change my game tactically a little bit. Not the quickest of players, so we know about that, don't we? So you have to adapt your game, and I spent a bit of time doing that. I've worked hard with the coaches, and I feel like I'm in a better spot this year than I was last year, and I've still got levels to go to that I'm really hoping that I meet too.
I've been telling her a lot. I've been so proud of her, and she's been putting in a lot of work, but I think at the end of the day too, if you have the support and confidence, you'll do well on this team and you'll do well in this league. So I think she stepped into those roles pretty well and is continuing to be consistent and, reliable. And it's one of the best feelings. So we're so proud of her. Yeah.
Lou, you're a week out from the debut of Salmon Bay. I wanted to know, how has it been? It seems like an opportunity to learn, the bit more of the business side of soccer and running a team in a sense with other investors. But what's that been like as far as balancing it with the reign responsibilities that you have and just outlook of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I've done a lot of community impact off-field things, and that's been something I've been really proud of, and been in a community that's allowed me to, really grow in that area. So being able to invest in women's soccer myself in this way has been truly incredible, both on the business side, but also just being able to give opportunity to girls that want to play pro, and this is a different avenue for them to go and be seen by, players and coaches here at the Reign, being in such a unique community and area up here in Seattle. So I am so proud of what they've created. One of the owners that I work closely with, Sam Lamar, you guys know from Seattle as well. They've just done it right, and they've always, from the jump said with the women's side that they wanted women investors and women owners to be involved because they were all male, and they're like, we don't know what we're doing on this side, so please take over. So I think them just doing that has shown how important it is to them, but now how important it is for us to continue to highlight and just make it a soccer city that it is for all levels will be super important. So yeah, I'm so excited for them to start. We actually play Z, which is going to be pretty exciting. I live on the west side as well, so it's big collision in so many ways right now. But yeah, I'm just super proud of where it's gone, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback. So yeah, we're going to continue to make it grow. We have some stuff up our sleeve, hopefully with Salmon Bay soon, so hold tight and we'll see where this goes. But yeah, I wore my Salmon Bay jersey today walking in for game day fits to continue to push forward women's soccer.
All right, we'll take the last one here on the Zoom from Theo. Theo, go ahead.
What up, Theo?
Hi, just a quick one. You made a very touching kind of tribute to Savvy King before the game, and I was wondering if you could talk about that.
Yeah, I just think in moments like that, it's just a very good reminder that soccer is so small, but so powerful in its community and its support. And you can just see how quickly, how quickly and how strong this community is. So yeah, we are so happy and grateful that she's feeling better and is stable right now. I don't know much after that and where she's at now, but yeah, scary moments like that, but all we can do is, stick together, keep the community strong, keep our prayers up, and wish for a speedy recovery for Savvy.
As always, just overall thoughts on tonight's match.
Yeah, I thought we were lackluster. I thought we never really got going. And I think the frustrating part about that is when it's the whole team, you've got to look at everything that we've done to prepare. I think I said prior to the game that we'd set the tone that it's games like this that this is going to determine sort of our season. It's not games against Kansas, it's games like today, and unfortunately we didn't turn up for it. So I said to the players at the end, I think, I have to take responsibility for that, but I think we have to understand why that is. Because I thought we looked lackluster, we were flat, we never really got going even when, the substitutions came on, Emery hits the bar, but we never really enforced ourselves on the game. So yeah, disappointing.
And then tactically, you had played the back five against Orlando and Kansas and played it again tonight. I'm wondering if that's something you think we'll see more of this season, if it's because of Houston's personnel or what personnel you had available.
Yeah, I think it's something that we can continue to use. I think the interesting thing about today is we play exactly the same way, both teams. And I think we struggled to find ways in which we could make the game not 1v1. I think they did a better job of it at times. But there wasn't much between the two teams. You see that in chances created and all those things. But I just think in the moments we needed that little bit of quality, we didn't have it. And then as the game goes on, you're trying to force a few things and all those types of things. So yeah, just overall, just disappointing with the overall performance.
All right, we'll go here to Jada and then Grant.
Thanks for taking the time, Laura. I wanted to ask, because Emery and Maddie did make a little bit of a impact on the game, was there, looking back, was there any thought of wanting maybe make subs a little earlier because of the fact that you guys weren't playing a lot of energy?
No, not really. I think there's a lot of nuances into why we did it. We obviously made an early sub with G relatively early. And, I think we gave Emery, Shea and Ainsley 25 plus minutes. There's enough time to change games in those moments. We conceded right before we made the first change. So no, I don't think we needed to make them earlier. I think, we went with the starting lineup for a reason. And yeah, unfortunately, we just couldn't turn it around.
So, Coach, you mentioned what could determine the season is not so much games like Kansas versus Kansas City, but games like today. I think I get what you mean, but can you expand on that a little, please?
Yeah, I think, we have to look at who's going to be in and around us, and how do we make it that we become above them and not below them. And last year, that was a big struggle for us. We actually did okay against the top teams, but against the ones that we're fighting against, we didn't get a ton of points. And we've done a decent job of that this year with scraping a point out in Bay, beating North Carolina away, all those little things. The two games that I think we come away and we're disappointed with over the stretch we've had is this one and Angel City. So I think, we can turn the tide for sure, and picking up wins against Kansas help when you don't win a game like today. They sort of even themselves out, but you can't have that as a pattern or you're not going to get where you want.
First answer, you also said that the team needed to you all needed to look at yourselves and ask why this all happened. Can you yourself answer that question? Why do you think that, the team didn't show up tonight? Why it was lackluster? Why can you, and what can you do differently next time?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. There was nothing different in how we prepared. We prepared the same way. If we hadn't have addressed the fact that, Kansas is a game that I know we're going to turn up for, and these are games that we have to make sure we turn up for, I'd have put that as a reason, but I can't say that because we talked about it. So yeah, we're back in tomorrow, so it'll be good and we have a very vulnerable, honest room. Obviously, straight after a game is not really the best time to have those conversations because of the emotion of it. But we'll wake up tomorrow and we'll go in and we'll be very, analytical for ourselves, so we can try and make sure it doesn't happen again. And we did the same after Angel City, and we tweaked a few things after that. So I'm no doubt we'll have a few things that we want to tweak after today.
All right, then we'll go here to Nico.
After going down, there were a couple close opportunities, hitting the crossbar. Dickey made a couple of good saves. Compared to the team last year, something that we just didn't see as often, to have that push, that heavier push for an equalizer. So what would be any positives to take away from this game to go into the next games for?
Yeah, I don't think we pushed too much, if I'm honest. I think we had, obviously, Emery had her one chance, and Shea, the header, and Maddie Mercado's shot. But we weren't really peppering them, I didn't think. So I think that's something that we can look at and be better at, is how can we really push in those moments. It's actually something we spoke about this week of game management stuff. Yeah, I just think that there was a bit of a lack of belief as the game wore on, which, again, I think maybe creeps in from players that were here last year, where we sort of sold ourselves short occasionally last year. And again, I think that that's the thing that I'm very conscious doesn't creep into us, because we're not the team that we were last year. We're in a much better place than we were. And this isn't disastrous, it's just really disappointing and will hurt, because I think when you've turned up, like Orlando really, when you've turned up and you've performed and the result doesn't go your way, you believe that you're going to be able to turn that around. I think the hardest losses are when you don't believe you've performed well. And that's what Angel City and today is. We know we didn't perform to the level that we can. They tend to be the hardest ones to swallow.
And if you could expand on what you thought of Claudia's performance after those couple saves.
I honestly think Claudia has been, if not the best goalkeeper in the league this season, she's definitely up there in my opinion. And I'm sure I'm biased, but she has grown a lot. She's matured a lot. Me and her had a really good conversation after Angel City. I actually went and watched the US national team train, and I came back and said, there's no way you shouldn't be in that. And the reason you're not in it is you. It's things that you can change. It's in your control. And I'm not picking the team. That's not my job. But I think that if she continues on the trajectory that she's on, I believe she's got every single tool to be able to be this country's #1 goalkeeper. And yeah, I think the ceiling for her is still really high. She's very young as a goalkeeper. And I think that there's loads of ceiling ahead of her. But I think what she's shown this year is consistency in performances. She makes big saves. That was a knock on her that she didn't necessarily do that before. She's doing that now. She's the best goalkeeper I've ever seen off a cross. And her feet are great. So she's got all the attributes. She's just got to keep pushing.
All right, we'll end here with Jeff.
In the midfield, we've seen a few matches now run with Haz and Sam and them, and we got to see Haz going forward a bunch more today, and she commented that was a bit of a plan, but also with the game presented. How do you feel about some of those partnerships that you're starting to see as players are getting multiple matches together?
Yeah, I think again, Sam and Haz worked really hard today. I think they weren't on their own, but I think some of the qualities we got higher up the field wasn't quite where they would want it. But I do think that they've got a decent partnership going. I think the next layer for us is how do we ignite our front line? Whoever's up there, Jordan, Lynn, G, Maddie, Darlene, Emery, whoever it is, how do we ignite them into getting more and more opportunities? Because I think that that's the key for us right now. You know, we win games 1-0 or we lose games 1-0, you know, and I think that the turning of the tide of that, we've got to really dig in on that, I think.
Okay, we'll close here with Bella.
Most people probably don't think of like a goalkeeper as a position that might change the game, but it was the first game that regular season game, Jane Campbell has been on the bench since 2017. Were you surprised to see Abby Smith start, and do you think that changed anything for Houston about how they played or played you?
I don't think it changed the way they played us, but yeah, I mean, it was a surprise. I don't think anyone was ready for that. Obviously, I worked with Abby at Utah, so she's experienced and she knows what it takes to be good in this league, and she made a great save off Maddie Mercado. Unfortunately, we didn't really make her do much else, you know, and I think that that's something that we've got to look at.